Every single phase of private practice has its own unique challenges and its own unique opportunities. Whether you're starting and growing a solo practice, getting a group practice going, whether you're already a group practice boss, or you want to go big and go national with the skills you have, every phase has its challenges. And doing that in community with people and learning from other folks and having that guidance is so, so important. That's why we have a membership community for every phase of practice. Next Level Practice is for solo practitioners to help you get organized, fill up your practice, and get that solo practice rocking. We have small groups, we have accountability partners, we have live events every single week. And also, if in the first 3 months, in the first 90 days, you're not satisfied, we have a 90-day money-back guarantee. Next, we have Group Practice Launch. Group Practice Launch is a 6-month program specifically for you to launch a group practice. We have weekly meetings with that as well as guided courses, and you get full access to Next Level Practice. And you're guaranteed to hire someone in the first 6 months, or you get to go through it again for free. Next, we have Group Practice Boss. Group Practice Boss is for people that have group practices and want to continue to grow. All those ups and downs of having a group practice, of changing that mindset, being in community with other people, and getting that support from us. We, with that as well, have weekly meetings, and you get to come to Next Level Practice events as well. So that's 8 meetings a month that you could come to live to get extra help. Also, there's a 90-day money-back guarantee. Lastly, we have Audience Building Academy. Audience Building Academy is specifically for people that are ready to level up and go national. Maybe you want to get a traditionally published book, have a podcast, launch some e-products and e-courses and scalable income. Audience Building Academy is specifically for you so that you can level up and go national. We'll walk you through exactly how you go from having a solo or a group practice to going national. We'll help you build your email list, get on podcasts, and really level up. So no matter what your phase is, we have a membership community for you. Over at practiceofthepractice.com/memberships, you can read all about them and sign up. Go in there and decide which membership phase is for you and join today. Again, that's practiceofthepractice.com/memberships. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1161. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast. I've told this story before, but it bears repeating. When I first started my counseling practice, so that would have been 2006, I took a friend of mine who was a CPA out to Panera Bread and said, what do I need to know? And he said, well, you got to file an LLC, a PLLC in Michigan, keep track of what you spend money on from your business account, all these things. And for years, I would keep all of my receipts in a drawer in my desk. And at the end of the year, I would add them all up. In fact, one year I even hired someone else to add them all up because I was sick of going through the hundreds, if not thousands of receipts. This is before I knew about, how QuickBooks could automatically connect with my credit cards and with my bank statements and all that. And I didn't know what I didn't know, but I was so scared of doing it wrong. I didn't have a regular accountant I was meeting with. I didn't have a regular attorney. I was bootstrapping it with this side gig counseling practice. And I still remember the year that I went and I sat down with an accountant, and he's like, you should be a PLLC filing as an S corp. And that first year, I want to say it was $5,000 or $10,000 in taxes that I saved on just by not talking to someone. That I was just using, one of those softwares where you can buy the home and business and doing it myself, thinking I was being all great in being able to do it myself, and not talking to a professional just messed up my game. Think about all the extra money I could have had before that I was just giving away. So today, capping off our Even Best Year series, all through January, we have been talking about so many interesting issues with the idea that rarely is it a New Year's resolution that changes our life. It's usually small steps in the right direction. It's learning from people that are working on interesting things and being able to say, how could I put a little bit of that into how I'm working? So for example, back in episode 1152, we talked about writing progress notes with and without AI. whoa, we can use AI for progress notes now. What does that look like? We've talked about psychedelic assisted therapy in previous sessions this month. We've talked about how to go from counseling to coaching large corporations. All these really influential people this month helping us say, let's have an even better year through this series. And that's why I am so excited about our guest today. We have Mark J. Kohler, who is a CPA, senior partner of KKOS Lawyers, co-founder of Directed IRA, which is number 391 in Inc.'s 5000, and best-selling author, has built a career helping American small business owners and entrepreneurs achieve financial success. Mark, welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Joe, thanks for having me. I love your message, and I am so honored to be able to speak with your listeners. They're my tribe as well. So I'm so excited to be here.
Love that. Yeah, I think it's so interesting as I talk to therapists. I have seen a shift where when I first got out of grad school, and probably the first 5 to 10 years or so of doing this podcast, it really was like, we didn't learn any of this in grad school, and people were just like starting from scratch. It does seem like in the last couple of years, in general, our consulting clients, our members, people coming out of grad school are a little bit more educated than maybe they were, coming out of grad school in the past. Tell me a little bit more about what you see in regards to any shifts you're seeing in regards to people looking at tax strategy, access to information, small business. Like, what are you seeing shift?
Well, the shift is really something I've been working on the last 2 years to change, and that is the accounting industry is really broken in a lot of ways. And some of you coming out of school, or you've been in practice for 20 plus years, you've maybe seen this deterioration or just been frustrated yourself, because the problem is accountants aren't great communicators. They went into accounting to do numbers. They were engineers of numbers, if you will, and they weren't the first ones to jump up and have a conversation with someone or get proactive or take an aggressive position or this or that. And what's happened is it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And the baby boomers that are accountants right now are walking away from their practices. They're frustrated. They're burned out. And enrollment in accounting programs across the country are down. Kids see it as a barrier to entry to go through a master's program, to get a CPA license, this rigorous lifestyle. And it's just got a really bad look. And I think the industry's on fire. I'm running into the building and I'm trying to talk about tax advisory. Let software help prep the return, but more accountants have got to be having a conversation with their clients. So the shift I'm seeing, in summary, is many of you are starving for that conversation with an accountant that wants to strategize and advise. And when you find them, they're like gold. And because you're on the same side of the table working together. And that's the shift that's starting to happen. Accountants are figuring out advisory is where it's at, because AI is going to replace them as just preparers. They've got to figure this out. And that's what I'm teaching.
So let's maybe start with how the average private practice owner is probably thinking about their taxes and their bookkeeping and kind of all that liability. Let's start with probably the what they're doing wrong. So what do you think the average, and most of my listeners have under 50 employees or contractors. I would say on average, we're looking at 5 to 10 clinicians, maybe an intake coordinator or two. And then the owner's usually somewhat involved. They may not have a full caseload, but they're still seeing 15 or 20 clients a week. So that's a typical scenario. What would you say are mindsets or kind of things that it's just like, man, stop doing that?
Well, there's never one thing, but let me mention 2 or 3 that might resonate with some of you. The first one is what you talked about, where as a brand new practitioner, you were like afraid of something, maybe the IRS auditing you or missing something or getting a nasty gram from the IRS. I want to assure people that's not the fear you should have. The fear you should have is you're going to miss a write-off. You're going to miss something and you're going to pay way too much in tax. That's the fear I'd rather have you worry about. The IRS isn't going to crash through your front door and take your house away or whatever. And if you get a nasty letter, who the hell cares? We deal with it. Let's make sure we're getting all of your write-offs and your strategies and put together. And so if any of you are having that anxiety of bookkeeping or anxiety of or fear of the IRS, let's shift that to being more proactive with better planning and being better organized. That's where the money's at. And frankly, it's easier to save money than make money. That's the funny thing. And I think other people are looking for that perfect accountant that's going to solve all this. It's not going to happen, people. You're not going to find this accountant that's just going to take all this off your shoulders, and they're going to be thinking about you all day long by the water cooler. And no, you have to captain your ship, have regular meetings, and know what the general strategies are. Like you talked about the S corporation, critical strategy. And way too many accounts are taking too much of payroll, and you're still paying way too much FICA. I swear, 80% of the new clients we have are still screwing up their S corporation. So knowing the strategies, having a regular conversation, and not being afraid of the IRS, but being afraid of the missing something and taking that as a motivation, I think are some areas that could really benefit some people.
Yeah, I want to dig into what would you say the average small business owner is missing when it comes to tax strategy and thinking about making sure they're taking legal write-offs that maybe they're missing.
Oh, you bet. I'm so glad you asked that. So many people I'm a guest on their show. I'm like, ask the great question.
I'm like, I want the nitty gritty. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Give me a freaking write-off. I swear. So I love that question. I'm going to rattle off 5 or 6, maybe a 10, because again, it's not one thing. Everybody has a different situation. Number 1, nailing your S corporation, making sure you're having it. If you make more than $50,000 net, take home $5,000 or more a month after your expenses, you better be an S corporation. Then number 2, not taking too much payroll. I have a payroll matrix. You can Google it, Kohler payroll matrix. I'll give you guys some resources here to find my writings and books. No one has more information on this than me out there. So we got to nail our S corporation, have it and use it right. Number 2, are our family members on payroll? If we're to have kids under age 18 or kids over age 18, if we're helping them financially, we should have them on our board of advisors, our board of directors. Are we having a PLLC should have a board of advisors, your spouse, your kids, you're paying them to do janitorial and cleanup and this and that. If you have kids and you're helping them, they should be on the books. They're in a lower tax bracket or no tax bracket at all. Third, you should be doing your family board meeting every year to maintain your entity so you have good asset protection. And I'm writing off travel, dining, anything to do with the holidays. There should be a board meeting around your holiday travel. HSAs, health savings accounts, health reimbursement arrangements. You see them in your practice. People use HSAs all the time. Are you using one? Do you have the right type of insurance policy? Medical expenses are the number one cause of bankruptcy, and so many people don't even know how to write them off. Then we get into electronics, equipment, making sure we're funding the right retirement account. All of you can have a Roth IRA at any income level. Doesn't mean you have to go get a big expensive 401k for all your employees. Are we maximizing our savings there? Man, the list just goes on, and it's all year-end planning. December 31st is the buzzer. Call me in February. I can't help you. It's over. You missed it.
Well, it's too bad this is airing at the end of January. They've got 11 months to work through it.
We'll start the year off right, people.
Yes, exactly. Going to be an even better year. Well, I want to ask about one thing I keep seeing on TikTok. And so I know that, especially advice around taxes on TikTok, I'm never going to just take that advice. So
wholeheartedly, yeah.
I'm seeing, and it's probably because I've clicked and watched too much, so now the algorithm thinks I really want to know it. But I keep seeing this thing of, and I'm not going to explain it well, and maybe you can re-explain it correctly and tell me if it's even worth thinking about. This idea of like a trust owning the LLC, and then the trust is paying for everything, and you're not paying hardly any taxes. I actually had someone on the show that I interviewed, did the whole interview, sent it to my accountant and attorney, and they were like, do not air this. Like, this is like not like, they're basically just selling you into this trust management type of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? This whole like use a trust to pay almost no income taxes. Like, can you explain it better than I did and then tell me what you think
I've
of
got a really technical term here that'll help explain it. Scam. Wrong. Bullshit. It's wrong. So, yeah.
All right.
There we go. Now, and the sad part is with any tax or legal strategy, it's usually based on a half-truth. And then they exploit that, use fear or some sort of motivating get rich quick scheme or watch out for this scheme, and people buy into it. It's so great to hear this, it's like too good to be true. So let me say this. Here's the half truth. I want every American to have a revocable living trust. Absolutely. Young or old, no kids, married, single, real estate, own a home, what does not matter. A revocable living trust is your estate plan. It's a legacy. All of you business owners should have one. You can use it for privacy. It's there to leave all of your assets properly to the next generation. We're going to help avoid probate and fights with family. They are absolutely critical. And 50% of Americans don't even have a will. But will that trust save you taxes? No. Is it going to give you asset protection? No. It's there for your legacy, your estate, your organization, and privacy. That trust is going to own your home. It's going to own your LLC. It's going to own your PLLC. It's going to own everything, because if something happens to you, it all goes to your trust. Then some scam artist that's not even a lawyer starts to say, oh yeah, and then you can set up a bank account and run it all through here and write this off and blah, 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 blah. And they're full of crap. And they've exploited it. And if you do an irrevocable trust and start filing a 1041, oh my gosh, the cost of it just goes through the roof, but they make money and you think you're in some land of promise and you're not. So be careful.
Okay. Thank you. I always like hearing those things and then running it by an expert and then being like, nope, I don't have to even think about that. Because I think that taps into some of this, like, oh, did I miss something? Like when I heard about the S Corp, I was like, this sounds like a scam. Why doesn't everybody do this? And then it's like, as you dig into it, you're like, oh, like most smart business people are doing it. Yeah. And so it's like, I've missed things like that before. And then it's like, oh man, what if I had spent a decade not doing this trust thing that I saw on TikTok? So, okay, good to know, scam.
But Joe, you know what you did well though? And everybody followed Joe's process. He heard something and he investigated it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's great. You hear something on TikTok, an Instagram reel, you're at a workshop and someone says, oh, you should have a C Corp and write off your home. Really? Oh, sounds pretty cool, but let me look into that. Oh, crap. But you look into it. That's why people, you got to captain your own ship. It's okay. Mm-hmm. You start consuming some tax and legal. It's fun. Rich people do this. Successful people love to tax plan. It's fun. I change your mindset. I know that sounds crazy, tax planning fun, but that's saving money at the mall. Keep that receipt. Show everybody how much you saved.
No, Mark, I'm with you. I actually do find tax planning fun because it's like, I don't want to pay anything more than what I'm supposed to. And like the government's tax code incentivizes certain industries different than other ones. And so it's like, I just bought a multifamily home, 2 weeks ago. I closed on it.
Good man.
And so I'm working, and I also already have like a Airbnb. That's like a slower market because of just what's happened in Northern Michigan. There's been pure saturation. So, but it's a multifamily. It has 3 units and has renters that have been in there 3 years. They're all just like amazing people. I brought them pies after I closed on it and met them all. And they're like, hey, can we help with the leaves? Can we help with this? And so great situation overall. But like I'm working with my accountant to say, okay, what does that look like from a tax standpoint? So I'm repaying debt. Do I have to pay taxes on that? All these different things. And it's like, I'll see articles or I'll listen to a podcast on real estate, investments, and I'll make a list of different things for when I have my meeting with my accountant, and saying, okay, so this is something I read. This is something I read. Is this true for my situation? So I'm coming to the table saying, I don't know if this is true or worth it, but like, could I do this? And then he's just like, oh yeah, I know what that is. There've been times when he's like, I've not even heard of that. He looks into it and he's like, oh, we can totally do that with your estate. And so I love what you're saying to say, like, don't just trust your accountant to figure it all out for you. You've got to like kind of do some of that research as well.
Yeah. And the scary part here is you've got a really unique accountant, because how many of you listening have taken an idea to your accountant, enrolled agent, CPA, whoever, and they're like, oh, you can't do that. And they're protected because they didn't come to you with the idea. So you bring in an idea that they don't know about makes them look bad. So their first reaction is, oh yeah, that's high risk. You can't do that. And then deep down, they're like, holy crap, let's look into that. Maybe we should be doing that. And then it is so screwed up, the mentality of the accountant that thinks they know it all. And I'm a CPA. You CPAs out there, you know what I'm saying? So back off. But what we're looking for, everyone, is that tax advisor status. Someone that's holding themselves out is not just a preparer, but they're willing to advise you and meet quarterly or semi-annual. And before we get off the show, I will give you all a resource where you can go interview, research, find them. I don't make money on that network. I'm building an army around the country of tax advisors because I know how hard it is to find them. And but that's our goal. We got to find someone that's on the same side of the table as us, that wants to roll up their sleeves and get creative.
I am so excited about Alma. When I had my private practice, I struggled building my caseload, attracting the right clients, managing the business side. And honestly, one of the reasons I didn't take insurance was it was so difficult to navigate. So many of my consulting clients deal with these problems as well, and Alma supports clinicians in building rewarding private practices with simplified insurance credentialing in under 45 days, enhanced reimbursement rates, and guaranteed 2-week payback, plus a free profile in their searchable, filterable directory, making it easy for clients who are the right fit for your practice to find you. Learn more about how Alma could support your private practice at helloalma.com/Joe. That's hello, ALMA.com/Joe to learn more. Now, when people start to grow, and I just interviewed earlier in the month an employment attorney that was talking about kind of adding to your team. So when we think about best practices of starting to add 1099s or W-2s, back in episode 1151, so that came out January 8th, so just a couple weeks ago, John talked about, really classifying people properly. So I would definitely say that's a good kind of concurrent issue or episode with today's as well. What should people think about as they're expanding their team? Like what kind of tax IDs, what kind of just keeping their liability lower? Like what do they need to think about?
Well, so much. And I love talking about scaling and onboarding. I have my own podcast, the Main Street Business Podcast, and 2 events a year, semi-annual events where we talk about business, tax, legal, and growing your business. So this is your accountant should know this. Some of you are like, well, you're an accountant. You shouldn't know. No, this is what accountants do. They talk to their clients about all their issues. Who you going to? Your banker? I mean, your lawyer is going to help you with this? Your accountant, your tax advisor is your best resource when you are scaling up and leveling up and having these conversations. So, well, if you've already had a podcast on the definition between a subcontractor and an employee, absolutely critical. People go listen to that. It's states are really going hard on this, putting down the screws on people that think they're a subcontractor relationship, and so they 1099 people because they don't want a W-2. The penalties for that, it is not fun. So if they look like a duck, walk like a duck, quack like it's a duck. Don't try to make them a subcontractor when they're not. The other thing I would just want to say quickly, Joe, is when you're scaling and bringing on employees, there is so many important steps along the way. Creating the proper job description and SOP before you even interview, making sure that you're attracting the right candidate, and then in that meeting and in that interview, in stages of interviews, going through the SOPs and really understanding if they are going to be able to accomplish what you're asking them to. And then the minute you hire them, that ongoing support and training that should be intense in the first 6 to 8 weeks. We call it that first 100 days, making sure they're getting reviews and support. The number one reason employees leave a job is because they're a direct supervisor. And making sure we have the right culture, that would be the third piece here, is the right culture and leadership with your team. Because if you're scaling a practice, you can't do it all. You're going to have a layer of management in there. How are your managers treating your employees? How are you treating your managers? And it comes from the top down. Culture, relationships, training, support. It's so expensive to onboard someone and train them. Oh my hell, you just can't burn through these people. Take the time to do it right so that you don't have to be back in the recruiting and hiring phase 3 months from now.
Yeah, absolutely. What are opportunities that you're seeing for successful small businesses? So what are things that maybe would be things even beyond just the tax planning or, the most amount of write-offs? Like what else can people be doing to optimize their tax situation?
Okay, I'm not even going to go. Well, okay. Well, you said not tax, and then you said optimize your taxes. So let me say,
yeah. No, you answer it however you want.
Two-part question there. First, I want to tell everybody we've obviously already been beating up the tax issue, the legal structure. Make sure you're organized, find the right advisor, do regular planning, blah blah blah. And there's so much money on the table, people. It does not have to be laborious, painful, boring. You can do this. Now, I love your question, Joe. What else am I seeing? See, I've done my 10,000 consults or more. I've been in this for 25 years. I have met with over 10,000 small business owners. What do you think I see? I see patterns. I see patterns of success, patterns of failure, and what are they doing to make money or lose money? I see some clients, I'm like, don't do that. Other clients, I'm like, okay, but they turn to their accountant because that's the one person they meet with every year. And we're tax lawyers. We have a law firm, an accounting network, and then our trust companies. So we're meeting with them multiple ways. But here's what I want to say on this point is when you're trying to scale and what opportunities are out there, it's finding additional sources of revenue. And more than ever in our amazing society and economy, we have the internet. We've got social media, we've got Etsy, we've got Upwork, we've got eBay, we've got Thumbtack, we've got this, we've got that. And finding product or education or training that you can sell online in the middle of the night. And this is the age-old professional practice problem. You know, dentists hate this, lawyers hate it, doctors hate it. Our therapists, we all hate this, right? It's hourly work. Either we're making money. If we're not there, we're not making money. We have got to find additional revenue sources where we can make money when we're sleeping. And that is so more than ever possible with good website planning, digital marketing, educational training, products. It's exciting. And when you can find those additional revenue sources, I've had therapists even walk away from the practice because they're making more online. And so there is so much opportunity there. So reach out and put more irons in the fire.
I love that. And, we see that all the time with people optimizing their practices in a few different areas. I actually just right before you was doing a webinar with a partner that was all about, just not only filling your practice, but what we often call the sandwich approach. So it's like, what are the things that before people are ready for therapy that you could sell? So it could be a $9 digital download for how to make your dates better. It could be an e-course on improving couples' sex life. It could be, a 5-part series on how to handle tantrums with 5-year-olds. Like what are those things that before they're ready?
Where do I buy it? I'm ready. Let's go.
Yeah. And then you've got the therapy, which is the main part of the sandwich. But then afterwards, so you have this couple graduate from therapy. Do you do a quarterly check-in? Do you have retreats? Do you have couples that want a stronger partnership, group that you lead? And it's like well curated, like 4 couples. And I mean, there's so many ways that people do this, but then it's like, how do we then level up into that passive income and creating, membership communities for these things? Like we have a consulting client that she has one of the top autism assessment practices in the nation. I think they cover 39 states or something like that. And she realized that they have all these people they've done autism assessments on that aren't doing ongoing counseling, but they want support from therapists, but not as therapy. And so they've launched this online community that people are paying $20-$30 a month to be a part of. And it's as easy to run it for 100 people as it is to run it for 10 people, as it is to run it for 500 people. So it has that scalability.
Yeah, totally. And I know, let's think of a stop smoking program, stop porn program, stop this program. I mean, so many different books, videos, and training support classes that you can teach and duplicate yourself with recordings and do it in the middle of the night. But I know here's the problem. And I know many of you listening are like, that sounds great, Joe. That sounds great, Mark. But I don't have the technical skill. This is where the Thumbtack and the Upwork and the expanding your horizons a little bit, bringing on a subcontractor that's part-time. Maybe they're a local tech college type student, and you come in and go, I want to build an online program. I want to have a membership site. I want to do this. Tell me how to do it. They have the APIs. They have the software. They have the plugins. They can help you build the right website for this. And you might invest 5 or 10 grand or 2 to whatever. Get multiple quotes. Be careful. You can get taken advantage out there. But start learning about how to build a membership site and start recording. You got to get comfortable in front of a camera. You're going to have to build a little studio maybe. But it's okay. Just take baby steps. And pretty soon, a year from now, you're selling something online. So it's doable.
Yeah. And I think that what I'm seeing, and Mark, as a podcaster, you might see this too, that the guests that are more and more attractive are the actual experts. Like for years, podcasting had a bunch of armchair experts that were talking about how they cured depression with walking, or cured depression with this essential oil or whatever,
Right.
and it's like, wait, you have no degree, you aren't a scientist at all, and you're saying that this is some magic cure. And it seems like those that are experts already and licensed have such an advantage over all these armchair experts. And I think that's why we see so many Instagram influencers just blowing up that are licensed therapists, licensed doctorate level psychologists, that people want that level of expertise to parse out kind of the people that are just speaking from their own experience.
Totally. And there's so many avenues there to really market yourself, even moving more into coaching and training and everything you talked about earlier. But on that note, dang it, I was going to say, is your looking for, dang it, it was right on the tip of my tongue for those people out there that are going into these areas. Anyway, let's keep rolling. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I love that you're live and uncut, so I can just
we're moving
my
fast. You were just so fully present that you weren't thinking about what you're going to say next. You were letting me talk, and you were fully absorbing it. That's all. Whenever I lose my train of thought, I'm like, yeah, I was just listening.
I got it. I remember now. It's yes. This. You were just talking about being the expert. So all of you therapists out there, can I just say, write a freaking book. Write an ebook. It's not that hard. Again, you can get support on Upwork and all the subcontractor sites out there with freelancers that'll help you ghostwrite, design a cover, whatever. Amazon makes it so easy with KDP Publishing to get something going. You can sell the damn book, but it just creates credibility. And when you can hold yourself out as an expert, doing your own newsletter, your own little podcast for your members only, or a Facebook group, or a live on a closed group, or this book thing, or whatever, the more you can do that, then you're going to escalate your influence when you do go balls to the wall on social media. And so you can do this. You have the credibility, the credentials. Now just build on it.
Yeah, totally. Well, Mark, I feel like there's so much we could cover. You've just given us so much to start with here. The last question I always ask is, if every private practitioner in the world were listening, what would you want them to know?
Well, I'm going to go back to my core mission and passion, and that is this business, tax and legal foundation that really unlocks your ability to succeed. And let me frame it this way, everyone. You've got your business, your product, your service. You're a great therapist. You're a great educator. You're a great something. You've got your core value proposition. Then if you turn to the side a little bit, you've got to run this as a business. And you didn't go to school to be a business owner. You may not be a great business owner, but guess what? You got to embrace that issue and captain your ship. Start learning in the areas where you're weak, bring on the right support, ask lots of questions, just like Joe was saying, hey, you heard about a strategy. Let's figure it out. Let's find out if it's real. And not be jumping at the first thing that's shiny and pretty, And so I would challenge all of you to take a little time to work on the business, not in it. And be the captain of your ship, knowing the strategies and where you want the ship to go, and then delegate the duties that are more specific. Obviously, that you're going to need someone that's a technician to implement them, but you know where you're headed and where and why. And I think so many people just put their head down and hope that's going to work itself out, but the real successful people take time there.
So awesome. Well, if people want to connect with you, if they want to get your books, listen to your podcast, where should we send them?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, my primary website is markjkohler.com. Super simple. Mark J as in Jolly, Kohler.com. You can get to the law firm from there. And at the top is the Tax Pro Network. And I think we've got over 300 people that because they can turn on or off their profile. So it's kind of like a LinkedIn profile of accountants around the country, young and old, male and female, speak Spanish, no real estate, know this, know that. You can toggle it and find the right advisor and interview them. Don't feel like they have to be down the street, but find someone in that advisory group. And if you're a a budding tax advisor or an accountant or enrolls agent, CPA, please sign up for a demo and see what we have. We know your pain points and we know we can solve them, help you make more money, have better clients, and serve clients that are really going to respect you and need you. And, but it's all there. My podcast, you can find it there. My blog articles, my books, blah, blah, blah. I hope some of you will put me as a regular source for this tax and legal topic until you find someone better. But you got to have it somewhere, people. So hopefully I can be that source.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the Practice of the Practice podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Joe. I loved it.
We covered some ground today, so take some action. This wraps up our whole series for this month of the Even Better Year series. Next month is Marketing Month, so we are talking marketing all month long. When we did our 2024 State of Private Practice survey with you, with our membership community, with our online followers, marketing was the number one thing that people were saying, we don't know what to do. It's a sticking point that we need some help. So we are spending an entire month thinking about marketing, going deep on specific issues, going broad on other issues. You're definitely going to want to check out Marketing Month. That's coming up next. We've got a lot coming up here. Also, we have a new partnership with Session Sites, which is a website designer, sessionsites.com/Joe. They're going to build your website in 14 days. That's not a sponsor. It's just wanted to let you know about that because we have that coming up to sessionsites.com/Joe. They'll build your website in 14 days. And you know what? We couldn't do this without our sponsors. Our sponsor for today is Alma. Alma is the very best way for you to get quickly credentialed. If you are trying to get onto insurances, they will get you credentialed in under 45 days, get you better reimbursement rates, and a guaranteed 2-week turnaround payback. It's awesome. It's what I wish I would have had when I had my private practice. Head on over to helloalma.com/Joe. Again, that's helloalma.com/Joe. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.